War. War never changes. Just like the Call of Duty Krabby Patty formula, the classic franchise of Call of Duty, once respected and treated with care by passionate developers, and nowadays tossed around like a GTA 5 prostitute. This franchise has gone through more PTSD and trauma than any Vietnam War veteran could ever think of. Call of Duty has been beaten and bullied around by a little company. They're not very big, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're known as Activision. This little company once had a dream, similar to Martin Luther King, but in this case they are more so creating a nightmare rather than a civil rights movement. Perhaps the CEO of Activision was on crack when they created this franchise, because having to release a full-fledged Call of Duty game every year is not an easy task, especially when you're as big as a franchise as Call of Duty. Perhaps Activision is one of the only companies out there that can actually match the soulless behaviors of companies like Electronic Arts. However, at least Electronic Arts has games like Battlefield and way too many Star Wars games to count, and other cool games out there, but developed by many other companies. But EA has actually shut down quite a lot of companies. We're not going to talk about that though, because we're not here to compare the two awful publishers of EA and Activision. We're here to talk about the art of the Call of Duty tradition. A classic Indian ritual performed by only the kinkiest and strangest of players, where man and man compete to see who has the better trash talk rather than who has the better aim. A game where jumping around corners and sitting in corners are both hated by many, and where women are prohibited from playing the game, where any players under the age of 12 are persecuted, and where the laws of physics are broken. This franchise is responsible for single-handedly shaping so many childhoods by supplying those children with an endless supply of ammunition of racial slurs and insults. The franchise is also responsible for some of the best trash talk known to man.
Learn how to fucking shoot a gun, you fucking
Riot Shield. What else should we
Riot Shield! I'm a pussy that use Riot Shield!
And probably would be considered a war crime to even say in today's modern society, where people can be offended by the smallest and most insignificant ideas or words. The socialization and community surrounding the franchise of Call of Duty has always been a friendly, nice place, where people of all ages are free to interact with one another and both genders are respected. This franchise has some of the most wholesome moments of which I've ever seen before, where two men can have a peaceful conversation full of love and wisdom. Call of Duty is like the yin and the yang of the gaming industry, whereas any other game is full of peace and enjoyment. Meanwhile, Call of Duty fulfills the empty void of unnecessary hatred and negativity. A world without Call of Duty will look a little something like this. But see, we need Call of Duty in the world because without this franchise, we wouldn't have all the creative insults we have today. So what do you know Call of Duty for? What is the best part of the entirety of the franchise to you? Is it the over-the-top Michael Bay action sequences of the campaigns? Is it the obvious plot holes and twists that are predictable every goddamn time, but still manage to captivate all the 5-year-olds out there because why not? I mean, explosions go boom. Or is it the experience that comes with the other players? Call of Duty has many reasons to be considered one of the most iconic and biggest franchises of the industry, and also probably one of the biggest sellouts of the gaming industry. But does that mean it's good anymore? Does this franchise even have much of a future left? Or is it just a cow slowly being milked until it can be milked no more and will eventually have to be put down? Was Call of Duty Vanguard just a ploy to give a false illusion that Call of Duty will eventually die out in the near future? Today I will not actually be answering any of these questions, but again, rather just be discussing the tradition of Call of Duty and its kinky Indian ritualistic activities.
All of this going on up here is what's causing me the most physical discomfort. It's like a visceral reaction of discontent coming from this.
Call of Duty is a game that everyone could get into, or at least it once was. 50 million players used to have an enjoyable experience in Call of Duty. Now it's literally just a ghost town full of skill-based matchmaking and atrocious microtransactions, and bringing back characters that we know and love, but just kind of using them as a mascot just to promote the game. Probably why Modern Warfare 2 is actually sold like over 1 billion copies somehow.
What? What the fuck?
Was there even something magical about the older Call of Duty games, or do people just get older as time progresses? Well, to be quite frank, I have no clue, and honestly, neither do you probably, but I think the most regarded idea of Call of Duty nowadays is that it's a cow that is reaching its endpoint. It's like a money bag that has a hole cut in the bottom of it, like some sort of woman, but instead of a private region, it's just money slowly falling out.
What?
And Activision attempts to savor that falling money each year. We don't know when that money bag will run out, but the day that Call of Duty finally reaches an endpoint is a day we may never see until 2100, because somehow this franchise is still selling billions of copies in sales to this day. Don't ask me, I don't know how. I honestly do not know how this franchise manages to stay relevant with how linear and similar each game is to the next. I mean, here, let me put all the Call of Duty games on screen. Now, can you honestly tell the difference between this one and this one? Or how about this one and this one? Because honestly, I can't. Maybe there's something wrong with my eyes, but I genuinely could not see which Call of Duty games these are at first glance. It would take me a few minutes here. The reason why the futuristic games somewhat worked is because while the gameplay was subpar at best, at least it was different for once. Until Infinite Warfare took Black Ops 3 and painted a new cover onto it. It was literally Black Ops 3 and that one Ghost game. The Call of Duty developers remind me of dogs on leashes or slaves in the 1800s, forced to do something that is atrocious and painful just for the sake of Daddy Activision, or in the 1800s it would be a Daddy White Master. The modern Call of Duty scene has also been collaborated with Blizzard as well. Two atrocious companies of Activision and Blizzard combined like a transformer to make the ugliest batch of AAA companies you've ever seen. At this point, EA doesn't look too bad compared to these companies now. Let me give you a quick rundown of the history of this cursed franchise, full of some supply drops here and there, some more supply drops, and some clowns jumping around with 50 caliber sniper rifles, and some, well, World War II soldiers doing jumping jacks and Fortnite emotes on the beaches of Normandy. The franchise started back in 2003 on October 29th. It was a fairly small and simple game, a World War II setting where you shoot Germans and Germans die. This was around the time where World War II games were the popular norm besides Halo, of course. Shooting Germans was like a typical fashion with FPS shooters, and Call of Duty started its roots with this. Games like Halo kind of took this idea, except it replaced space aliens as the Germans here. So you're basically shooting Germans that have been replaced by aliens, except they're not Germans at all, but somehow I'm making that comparison right now. Until we hit the year of 2007 with a not so very good game. Okay, never mind. Just kidding. A very awesome game known as Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. You've probably heard of it. Maybe you haven't heard of it. I mean, it's a pretty small game. It didn't really do much, to be honest, you know. Okay, never mind. With the Call of Duty games around the years of 2007 to 2012 were typically developed with passion and planning. These were the golden years, you could say, I guess. Big boy Activision saw the money profits with Call of Duty 4 and decided to start taking the games to another level by creating them every single year, like an annual Mariah Carey Christmas song going on the radio.
You and your eyebrows!
These games, while great, still had Activision being the greedy bad piggies they are, and had the tight time constraints. Games like Black Ops 2 were actually developed in a shockingly low amount of time, which was around 1.5 years rather than 2 to 3 years of development time. Modern Warfare 3 was actually considered very controversial at the time of release due to how similar it was to its predecessor, Modern Warfare 2. No, not that Modern Warfare 2. We'll get to that later, actually. Modern Warfare 3 was the first Call of Duty game to show how Call of Duty would slowly over time become a clone of each previous game rather than its own separate game that felt like a unique experience than the others. Even World at War, a fan favorite, was a direct parallel to Call of Duty 4's Modern Warfare originating in 2007. I mean, come on, the only difference here is that World at War is a World War II game, but I guess the campaigns are different, but multiplayer is not so much, to be honest.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
Around 2013 is when Call of Duty really fell off with high detailed dog models and advanced fish AI. This was basically the time where Call of Duty became a franchise that was going through an identity crisis. We then got 3 uninterrupted years of straight futuristic games where jetpacks and role-playing as Buzz Lightyear was the idea of Call of Duty.
Don't be mad. Oh man! Oh my god! Ooh.
This is probably pissing off the fan base, actually.
Well, let's see what the videos got on the ratings. Like, what are people doing?
Holy shit! 167,000 dislikes.
It was becoming basically a dress-up fashion show and a gambling website. It really wasn't a game anymore. As the years went by, we kept getting futuristic games until the year of 2017. This is when Activision saw the noisy complaints about Call of Duty going too far into the future and said,
Well, do it live! Fuck it! Do it live!
Activision holding Sledgehammer at gunpoint to make a World War II game. Sledgehammer complied and made a World War II setting game. Don't be fooled. Just because it was in World War II doesn't mean it was a good game by any means. It was literally just a gambling simulator on the beaches in Normandy. Call of Duty World War II is probably the only World War II game you'll see with people doing jumping jacks on the beaches of Normandy while supply drops fall from the sky. Anyways, 2018 goes by with the disappointment of Black Ops 4, and we get a little game known as Call of Duty. Wait, no, didn't we already do this? Hang on. Hey, we did this in 2007. What? Oh, we just ran out of ideas? Oh, okay. I don't know. I feel like we should, you know, come up with something to make money, you know, Oh, no, never mind. That's a lot of money. Okay, do that again. And with the year of 2019 came a rebooted version of Modern Warfare, except it was a polar opposite where camping and sitting in a corner was the main strategy rather than moving around while looking at your minimap like the average player. Modern Warfare drastically changed the modern scene for Call of Duty and was the beginning of a few cancerous features to come later down the line. These cancerous features include, but are not limited to, no red dots on a minimap, footsteps being louder than a racist Southern American on the microphone, incredibly bad particles making it hard to see any of your enemies, and a terrible battle royale mode that I couldn't bother mentioning. Warzone. Anyways, the point is, ever since Modern Warfare, you've either loved the Call of Duty franchise because of how different it's become, or you've either completely ignored it because you tried it for the first time and realized that you need to have a strong attention span to actually keep interest in this franchise anymore. And around half of the player base responded with a resounded God no when Vanguard rolled around. However, in the year of 2022, Modern Warfare 2, no, not that one, stop it, is somehow outselling the previous best-selling Call of Duty games, such as Black Ops 2, which is sort of astounding considering how old and just stale the franchise has really become. Call of Duty is a game franchise where you're either playing it because of how incredibly boring anything else sounds at the moment, or you're either heavily addicted to the game for a week or so before you lose interest. Call of Duty games always follow a cycle of get excited for the game, play the game on release, have the time of your life for a month, then completely drop the game after that. If you're still somehow managing to play the game for after a month, you either have a very long attention span, or you're either clinically insane, both of which I would probably only want the first option. These games follow a very specific cycle and tradition that has become very predictable and stale. This can be good for some players as they have something, you know, to look forward to every year, but let's be honest, if you're looking forward to a Call of Duty game in the year of 2022 rather than looking forward to anything else in life, you might need to go see a therapist. Anyways, ever since the release of Modern Warfare 2, no, not that one, stop it. Activision has stated that the traditional Call of Duty Indian ritual releases will be following a 2-year release cycle, meaning that 2023 will not contain any new Call of Duty games, but 2024 rather will. This allows the developers to make actual good games that they are passionate about, rather than focus on making the most shortcuts and getting the fastest results to daddy Activision, as if they are a 4th grader attempting to speed through a traditional math test just to be the first one out of the classroom. Of course, there's probably going to be tons of other ways Activision plans on making money, just to name a few stuff like battle passes, which are still somehow not dead to this day, stupid looking bundles, exclusive anime skins, and apparently a $70 DLC for Modern Warfare 2? Wait, what? No, not, for God's sake, not that one. Please get over her already. Oh my lord, that was 2009. Please stop, get over her. Anyways, we can't really expect this franchise to go away anytime soon. I mean, if the latest game has outsold every other Call of Duty game, that must mean something, right? Or maybe that was just because, well, it was an extra $10 for some reason, actually. Why was it an extra $10? That doesn't make any sense. Oh my god, these companies are getting more greedy by the second. Talking about this franchise has made me realize how much of a waste of money it actually is. Oh wow. Well, off to go play some Call of Duty again now.